And welcome back, everyone, here to Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Pache. Always great to be with you. We come back with some breaking news. You know, it seems like every day there are some new updates regarding these Epstein files, and we are learning now that the House Oversight Committee releasing a new batch of these files. Take a look here from Fox News saying House Oversight Committee releases a new trove of Jeffrey Epstein files, including his will, a legal agreement, and entries from his address book. So let's continue to break it down and bring in my next guest here to help us do that. This is Kaelan Deese with the Washington Examiner. Thanks so much for being with us. We always appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me on, Mike.
All right, so let's break this down a little bit. Every day, you know, there seems to be these new updates, these new troves of these documents. And I mean, what really sticks out to you this day?
Well, for one thing, I think that the letter that we saw, the illustration, I guess, if you will, of the birthday note to that was allegedly written by Donald Trump is very interesting to see that sort of in the ether, because one thing that we know is that there's this ongoing lawsuit that the president has filed against News Corp over the reporting that was done on this illustration, on this letter, so to speak. And the thing that stands out to me is that one thing is that the administration has already denied that this was the signature of the president, pointing to some of his more recent signatures where they just don't sort of add up in the shape and the form of which he normally signs things today as president. Although there have been some revelations about some of the things that he signed back in the 90s, many different accounts where we do see this little swoop, this little line that he draws at the end of the signature that does seem to sort of resemble what we see in this note that he allegedly sent in the Epstein book. So I think that it is interesting, given that there is that lawsuit again against News Corp, against your parent company, over the Wall Street Journal's reporting about this, because notably the Wall Street Journal did say it hedged in its reporting that this isn't something that they could verify technically whether it was Donald Trump's signature. So I think that it is going to be interesting going forward with this lawsuit, whether the defendants that are named in it, News Corp, Murdoch, so to speak, decide to maybe move to dismiss this case, because as we know from the precedent in New York Times versus Sullivan, a plaintiff would have to be able to say that this was written, this type of report was written with knowingly false or malicious context. I think it's going to be interesting to see where this lawsuit heads next. And I think I don't know what's on the attorneys' minds over there at News Corp, but I do think that there could be a motion to dismiss in the near future.
Yeah, this is something President Trump and his allies have pushed back hard against, denying it. And I mean, some of his supporters, I think, would think, you know, is this the dossier 2.0? Is this the dossier version from, 2016 when he was running for election? And we hear all of these, bad things about him allegedly that didn't turn out to be. Is this the new 2.0 version of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that is certainly it's something that's not good, but it's not bad for the president, because we have on record that he says he didn't sign this, like I said. And also we have the 9-hour recording of the Deputy Attorney General's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell, the accomplice to Epstein, saying that she has no recollection that he was ever in this, birthday book, so to speak. So I think that, for what you're saying, I do think that it could be for Democrats, it could be a sort of, symbolic dossier type of thing. But at the same time, there also seems to be just, on, both sides, there would be a lot of discovery that would be opened up for Murdoch and News Corp that maybe they'd like to keep, perhaps under wraps, because, as we know, in the process of making, so to speak, the sausage of news, there's certain things that news companies, don't want to let get out in discovery. But at the same time, it would be great for Donald Trump if he didn't have to go under a deposition. So we could be looking at sort of a stalemate so to speak, in this. But it all depends, like I said, again, like whether the attorneys want to, keep the case going or if they would like to dismiss it. But I think that ultimately the sum, multiple, millions of dollars that could be on the line here. And again, the attorney's fees and litigation costs, like it might be something that, both parties don't want to pursue. But to your point, though, I think from the Democrats' perspective, as they've been ratcheting up the Epstein issue more and more, it could be sort of a symbolic dossier, so to speak.
And, we talk about these new, really troves of files coming out, and, people are looking at them, they're dissecting them, trying to see just maybe any new information about Epstein. But, at the end of the day, I mean, does it even matter? The guy's dead. I mean, what's going to come from this?
Yeah, it doesn't seem that anything from these files releases coming out of the Oversight Committee via information that's been divulged by the Justice Department, it doesn't seem as of now that there's going to be any sort of big smoking gun revelations that are going to lead to potential indictments towards third parties or things like that, that many people who float certain conspiracies about the disgraced financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein want to have happen. So I think that, we're reaching a point where the Oversight Committee, particularly the fact that it's led by Republican leadership, the fact that they were, willing to put this out so forthright is actually sort of a double win for them, because it gives them a semblance of the fact that they are going after the facts with this investigation that they're doing. They are interviewing the people who were involved. They're interviewing former attorneys general, and they're also getting information from the estate. But whether this information is going to actually lead anywhere is a big question. And I think that where that, sort of the answer to that question, I think is, sort of the big remains to be seen. But I will say this, that nothing that we've seen thus far is putting a target on anyone specifically, including the current president, because he does have his denial of writing this. And the way that it's put is also so interesting too, because it's written in sort of this voiceover format of this conversation allegedly between, it's almost like a hypothetical conversation between Epstein and Donald Trump. And one thing that he said is that he doesn't do illustrations, and also the fact that he's sort of doing this in sort of a narrative sort of format, third person context. It just doesn't really sound like something that we know Donald Trump would do or say, which I think also is a degree of cover for the current president. So I don't, at this point, the Oversight Committee is seeming like they are showing, that they're willing to put anything out there, especially things that Democrats want them to do. We saw Jasmine Crockett say that there should be a subpoena or an interview with Alex Acosta, who brokered that late 2000s plea agreement. And then so, sure enough, we do have Alex Acosta now on the list of people that they are going to interview. So I think that the Oversight Committee is showing a very fair assessment of everything that they're trying to do. They're not trying to cover anything up. And that's all led by Republicans. So I think that we're seeing, a good faith effort, but nothing really new being shown to us as far as things go.
Yeah, and to your point there with the birthday letter, I was even just a couple of weeks ago, Vice President J.D. Vance putting out on X saying, does this even sound like the president when you're talking about that voiceover part where it seems like that would have to be the most inside joke that they would have had, but were they even that close? Those are things you got to really think about.
Yeah, and there was such a rivalry, as we know, between Epstein and the current president. I mean, there was rivalry over, which properties they were going to buy in Palm Beach. We saw that there was this introduction along with the letter that included a picture that depicted a fake sort of poster board sized check for $22,500, which had been sort of, billed as this, sort of, mock against, sort of a fully depreciated woman, which again is something that is, again, not something that looks great for anyone involved in that sort of thing. But it also, again, is a sort of mockery and inside joke of a situation. And toward the end of the Trump Epstein acquaintance, there was definitely a tension that was formed between them, and Trump has even said as much. So it seemed like at the time, whenever Trump began to realize that there were some certain facets of Jeffrey Epstein that he didn't necessarily get along with, he began to quickly disband himself from any sort of relationship with him, and even banned him from his properties. And it seems like a lot of other people followed suit after that. So where this goes is, again, it really matters the fact that there's this litigation billowing with News Corp and Trump, and whether these depositions happen, I think, is where people want to aim their sights on what's going to happen next. Will News Corp decide to dismiss this lawsuit? I think it would probably be in the interest of them to do so, but perhaps they want to prolong it for some reason. That will be left up to the attorneys.
Yeah, and Kaelan, this was some new reporting there from Fox News on just some more of the details maybe coming out in some of these different files, including former President Bill Clinton referenced Jeffrey Epstein's childlike curiosity and drive to make a difference in a letter for his 50th birthday, according to documents released by the House Oversight Committee. I mean, that is something, again, where people would have to look really deep into to try to think, okay, is it this? Does it mean that? I mean, that is another one that is just like, what happened there?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, we're seeing, people like former President Clinton implicated with these recent letters releases from the birthday book. And again, it falls back on, his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, who helped sort of compile this book. And she even expressed that, again, like her word should be taken with a grain of salt, obviously, because she's had past perjury charges levied against her. But she has a shoddy recollection of this. And the letters themselves don't have anything of substance that anyone could really take and run with, per se. It just, raises, little exclamations, questions, but nothing of grandeur, so to speak. So where this goes is really, just the fact that Epstein had a lot of high profile friends before he was indicted on those 2 prostitution charges, one of them involving a minor. And then after that point, a lot of his high profile friends started to fade off. And I will say, President Trump faded off before all this began. So I think that is something that's even more notable, is that President Trump was one of the first people to really cut off Epstein. And I think that goes especially in his favor as far as the public court of opinion.
There we go. Kaelan Deese, thanks so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox, from the Washington Examiner. Great speaking with you this evening.
Thank you, Mike.
And of course, everyone, the White House, including President Trump, really pushing back on these allegations. Caroline Leavitt earlier today posting on X saying the latest piece published by the Wall Street Journal proves the entire birthday card story is false. As I've said all along, it's very clear President Trump did not draw this picture and he did not sign it. President Trump's legal team will continue to aggressively pursue litigation. Furthermore, the reporter Joe Palazzo, who wrote the hatchet job, reached out for comment at the exact same minute he published his story, giving us no time to respond. This is fake news to perpetuate the Democrat Epstein hoax. And we should also let you know the Wall Street Journal shares common ownership with Fox. Fox has not independently confirmed the truth of the Wall Street Journal's reporting.